Little Johnny and Susie were only 10 years old, but they just knew that they were in love. One day they decided that they wanted to get married, so Johnny went to Susie's father to ask him for her hand. Johnny bravely walked up to him and said, "Mr. Smith, Susie and I are in love, and I want to ask you for her hand in marriage." Thinking that this was the cutest thing, Mr. Smith replied, "Well, Johnny, you are only 10. Where will you two live?" Without even taking a moment to think about it, Johnny replied, "In Susie's room. It's bigger than mine, and we can both fit there nicely." Still thinking this was just adorable, Mr. Smith said with a huge grin, "Okay then, how will you live? You're not old enough to get a job. You'll need to support Susie." Again, Johnny instantly replied, "Our allowance. Susie has $5 a week, and I have $10 a week. That's about $60 a month, and that'll do us just fine." By this time, Mr. Smith was a little shocked that Johnny had put so much thought into this. So he thought for a moment, trying to come up with something that Johnny wouldn't have an answer for. After a second, Mr. Smith said, "Well, Johnny, it seems like you have got everything all figured out. I just have one more question for you. What will you do if the two of you should have little ones of your own?" Johnny just shrugged his shoulders and said, "Well, we've been lucky so far." So I was sitting on the bus just reading a book when somebody tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and saw an old lady. She said to me, "Sonny, would you like some nuts? I've got a couple hazelnuts and almonds if you'd like." "Sure," I replied. Then she gave me a handful of nuts and went back to sit with her friends. What a nice lady, I thought, while happily munching on the nuts. A few minutes later, I felt another tap on my shoulder, and there she was again, offering some nuts. I gladly accepted, and she went back to her seat. After about 10 minutes, she tapped me on the shoulder, once again offering some nuts. I asked her, "Why don't you eat them yourself?" "Because we've got no teeth," she replied. "Then why do you buy them?" I asked. "Oh, because we just love the chocolate around them." A mother-in-law knocks on the door, then immediately walks in. She is shocked to see her daughter-in-law laying on the couch completely naked. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I'm waiting for Jeff to come home from work," the daughter-in-law answered. "But you're naked," the mother-in-law exclaimed. "This is my love dress," the daughter-in-law explained. "Love dress? But you're naked. Jeff loves me to wear this dress. It makes him happy, and it makes me happy." The mother-in-law on the way home thought about the love dress. When she got home, she got undressed, showered, put on her best perfume, and expectantly waited for her husband, lying provocatively on the couch. "What are you doing?" he asked. "This is my love dress," she replied. "Needs ironing," he says. A female police officer came upon a terrible wreck where the driver and a passenger had been killed. As she looked upon the wreckage, a little monkey came out of the brush and hopped around the crashed car. The officer looked down at the monkey and said, "I wish you could talk." The monkey looked up at the officer and nodded his head up and down. "You can understand what I'm saying?" asked the officer. Again, the monkey nodded his head up and down. "Well, did you see this?" "Yes," motioned the monkey. "What happened?" The monkey pretended to have a can in his hand and turned it up by his mouth. "They were drinking?" asked the officer. The monkey nods his head. "Yes." "What else?" The monkey pinched his fingers together and held them to his mouth. "They were smoking?" The monkey nods his head. "Yes." "What else?" The monkey motioned kissing. "They were kissing too?" asked the astounded officer. The monkey nods his head. "Yes." "Now wait. You're saying your owners were drinking, smoking and kissing before they wrecked?" The monkey nods his head. "Yes." "What were you doing during all this?" "Driving," motioned the monkey. A guy is walking along a beach when he comes across a lamp partially buried in the sand. He picks up the lamp and gives it a rub. Two genies appear, and they tell him he has been granted 3 wishes. The guy makes his 3 wishes, and the genies disappear. The next thing he knows, he's in a bedroom in a mansion, surrounded by 50 beautiful women. He makes love to all of them and begins to explore the house. Suddenly, he feels something soft under his feet. He looks down, and the floor is covered in $50 bills. Then, There is a knock at the door. He answers the door, and standing there are the two genies. They drag him outside to the nearest tree, throw a rope over a limb, and hang him by the neck until he is dead. As the genies walk off, one genie says to the other one, "Hey, I can understand the first wish, having all these beautiful women in a big mansion to make love to. I can also understand him wanting to be a millionaire, but to be well hung is beyond me." The weather was very hot, and a man wanted desperately to take a dive in a nearby lake. He didn't bring his swimming trunks, but who cared? He was all alone, so he undressed and got into the water. After some delightful minutes of cool swimming, he got out of the water and noticed two old ladies walking along the shore in his direction. He panicked and grabbed a bucket lying in the sand nearby. He held the bucket in front of his private parts and sighed with relief. The ladies got closer and looked at him. He felt awkward and wanted to move. Then one of the ladies said, "You know, I have a special gift. I can read minds." "Impossible," said the embarrassed man. "You really know what I think?" "Yes," the lady replied. "Right now, I bet you think that the bucket you're holding has a bottom." Now I understand what marketing is. You are at a party and you see a very pretty girl. You approach her and tell her, "I am very good in bed." That is direct marketing. You are at a party with a group of friends and you see a very pretty girl. One of your friends approaches her and tells her, "That guy over there is very good in bed." That is advertising. You are at a party and you see a very pretty girl. You ask for her phone number. The following day, you call her and tell her, "I am very good in bed." That is telemarketing. You are at a party and you see a very pretty girl. You recognize her, you approach her, and refresh her memory by telling her, "Do you remember how good I am in bed?" That is customer relationship management. You are at a party and you see a very pretty girl. You get up, fix your tie, pour her a drink, open the door for her, pick up her bag when it falls, and you tell her, "I am very good in bed." That is public relations. You are at a party and you see a very pretty girl. She approaches you and tells you, "I heard you are very good in bed." That is branding. A little guy sat in a cafe one day, eating his lunch. 3 Hell's Angels walked into the cafe, looked around, and decided to have some fun with the little guy. They sat at his table. One of them took his coffee away from him and drank it down. The next one took his sandwich away and ate it down. The 3rd Hell's Angel took the little guy's pie and ate it down. Without saying a word, the little guy got up, went to the cash register, paid his bill, and left. One of the Hell's Angels looked at the waitress and said, "Did you see that? We took away his coffee, his sandwich, and his pie, and he didn't say a word. He sure ain't much of a man." The waitress turned to them and said, "He ain't much of a truck driver either. He just ran over 3 motorcycles in the parking lot." My friends, if you want to watch other funny jokes, subscribe to the channel.